Welcome back to Real Airgun Adventures. Okay, today I have a Webley Stingray 2 Quattro. Now Quattro in this case refers to the trigger. So it's the Hatsan Quattro trigger. Now before I get too into all this, I just thought I'd clear up a little bit of confusion, I suppose, about the Turkish Webleys. Now looking around the forums, I've sort of seen over time that people aren't that keen, and the people that aren't keen really aren't keen. It all goes back to around about 2005, where the final Webley Birmingham rifles were superb. There was a point where Webley and Venom arms were in the same factory, and some of that magic rubbed off onto the late Webleys, and they were excellent rifles. And after all that time in the business, hundreds of years, being one of the most well-known arms manufacturers and air weapon manufacturers in the country, if not the world, Webley were at the pinnacle of their quality of rifles. It all went wrong, and they took the production to Hatsan in Turkey. Now at that time, Hatsan were making relatively cheap air weapons. They were quite rudimentary. They produced a load of rifles with the Webley brand name on, and to be fair, they were crap. And that's what people remember. The bluing wasn't anywhere near as good as Webley's traditional finish. The wooden stocks were ropey. They were not as advanced mechanically. And of course, they were still carrying the Webley badge, and you were expected to pay the Webley price. A bit of a disaster, and something they haven't really completely recovered from. Now over time, what's happened is the quality control at the factory has improved astronomically. The design and construction of the guns has improved incredibly, and that's actually rubbed off onto the Hatsans. And the Edgar 60, the 55, the 60S, they are really good rifles now, and they're budget rifles, and they have a lot of the features that Webley took to Hatsan to put on their rifles. Now this one says on it power lock inside. That's referring to the mainspring, the power lock mainspring, which is a good spring. The technology involved in making that isn't particularly advanced, but the effort and quality control make it into a good, reliable, relatively powerful, quiet spring. Quattro is the trigger. It's a two-stage adjustable trigger. It's got 4 adjustments to it. It is a good trigger. There's no two ways about that. It's not Viroc, it's not a top-notch match-grade trigger, but it's a really good trigger for blinking and hunting, which is what most people will buy one of these for. The stocks now are walnut. They're all Turkish walnut, as are all the Turkish air rifles, and the quality of the Zimba is superb. The finish on this, let's bring this a bit closer. If you look at that finish, now this is an older incarnation, but it's one of the newer types, and you can see the actual finish on that is really good. It's as good as anything. The bluing on this is good. It maybe isn't as good as those final days of Webley Birmingham, but that's good bluing on there. Technology wise, they're probably just about up there with the old Webleys now. When I say the old Webleys, I mean the last of the Birmingham Webleys. The really old Webleys were a different kettle of fish altogether. So that's why people say that the new Webleys aren't as good, because they're Turkish and Turkish rifles aren't as good. So that's not true on either count. This is a good rifle. It's well built, it's well finished. It's got the same technology in it that you'll buy with a lot of the European brands. It's probably better than a lot of the Far Eastern rifles at the same price point. Now, price point, one of these will cost you between sort of 2 and 250 quid. So it's middle of the road, it's not expensive break barrel rifle. That's really summed up that misconception about Spanish Webleys. Now to the rifle itself. As you can see, it's a Turkish walnut, ambidextrous, very well finished stock with that traditional Webley-esque rubber buttstop, ventilated too, and with the spacer, which makes it look nice. The Quattro trigger on this particular model is coloured gold, and it's got a very distinctive shape. Having said that, I've seen that shape trigger on the Edgar 60 as well, so it's not unique to this rifle. The checkering is that zigzag pattern actually creates some W's for Webley, as it does on the grip there. It's really nice and deep, it's nice and grippy, there's no rough edges, there's nothing about this rifle that would tell you that it wasn't a top quality air arm. As I say, the bluing is good, I can't really pick any holes in that. It's got a really nice safety there, which is easy to reach with the thumb. It's easy to work. It's a metal trigger guard, which is becoming less and less popular for some reason. The mechanism itself is excellent. I will just point out that this is a Vyrock silencer. They do offer this with a silencer, and it's a Webley. Nothing wrong with it, but this one's got a Vyrock silencer on it. Now, to break this like all break barrels, it requires a tap, which isn't too bad. It's got an articulated linkage, which makes the whole thing easier to cock. So there isn't a huge amount of cocking effort on this. In fact, it's really easy and it's really smooth, as you probably heard there. Now, I personally like that about this particular rifle. Yes, I have just taken the safety off and decocked it, because I'm not going to fire it just yet. The scope on here is a Nico Sterling Mountmaster. There's a story to this, which I might share another time, but good scope, good silencer, very nice little rifle. If you're a fan of the old Webleys, this is going to come pretty close in quality and performance. If you're someone that can't stand the fact that they're now made in Turkey, you're going to hate this. If you don't want to spend 200 to 250 on a Turkish rifle, then don't. Go and buy an Edgar 60, which is quite similar. The stock isn't as nice, it's not as well shaped. Most of the internals are much the same. There are different features on the Hatsons than there are to the Webleys. Perhaps we'll cover that another time as well. But this is the Webley with the power lock spring. It's Quattro Trigger, and it is a really nice, easy to cock, comfortable to shoot air rifle. In fact, as air rifles go, it's very comfortable to shoulder and hold. It doesn't feel like something at this price point. It feels more like a 350, 400 pound rifle. Recoil's not bad, but let's go and shoot with it. Let's have a look at what it can do, then we'll come back and we'll have a little chat. I'll be right back. Shooting at 25 yards, rested. Please excuse the camera wobble and the lighting issues. Well, would you look at that? It's not a bad little rifle at all, is it? Now, cards on the table, I don't mind admitting that I am not a crack marksman, and a lot of the rifles that I've got I'm pretty good with because it's practice. I know the rifles, and I tend to shoot at distances I know those rifles are consistent at. I didn't have any of those advantages with this one. I've only had it a few days. I've fired 10 pellets right before I actually did the target shooting, so it's not a bad rifle. Or it could be that it's a rifle that just suits me really well. Let's be the judge of that. I like it. I think it's a good buy. They've also got a quantum version, which basically is a shrouded barrel, shrouded all the way up. It's quite a short barrel, but it comes out quite long because of the integral silencer, which is under the shroud as well. So if you like shrouded barrels, there is that option. I personally prefer unshrouded barrels and a silencer because you can take the silencer off and change it. And also, heaven forbid it should get damaged, it's a straightforward fix. There is one other thing on this which I thought I might mention. It has a linkage adjustment. So if over time this should become a bit slack, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility, you can adjust it. It's got a holding screw which you can barely see because it's under the stock, but there is, if I get that in close enough, you can just see the linkage screw there. Just below that there's a locking or holding screw as well. So that's a feature that I haven't heard much mention of, but it's a good one. I believe that's on the Hatsons too, but don't quote me on that. I haven't seen the latest Hatson up close. The last one I had was a few years old, and it wasn't as polished as they are now. Anyway, there you go. Hatson Stingray 2 Quattro. I think there's 2 or 3 models now available, all around the same price, just with slightly different features. They're all in the same stock. It is a nice stock. The current finish is more satin, satin or high matte. That's a good word, isn't it? High matte. But that's the fashion these days. Less of the shiny stuff. I like the shiny stuff. Obviously, a bit less glare is more practical if you're going to take it hunting. If you're going to shoot tin cans and targets in the garden or take it down the range and improve your skills, then shine is fine. To be fair, it's not that shiny, but it's a little bit smoother and shinier than the latest ones. They're more like I suppose it's like a wax finish. It isn't a wax finish, but it looks like it. Anyway, I've started to waffle again, so I really must go. I will say that for that target test, I used the JSB exact jumbos, just using them up actually. I've also got another pellet test coming up very soon on these interesting, let's just take the lid off of there before I drop the lot. These are called SMK Black. Now they're a graphite infused pellet, and apparently graphite makes them harder, because graphite's a dry lubricant. It might make them quicker, who knows. I'll be testing those soon. The reason I've decided to test those is they are about £4 for a tin of 250, which is quite interesting, and they look pretty good. But that's enough of that. I'll get out of the way. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated to all those that have and all those that do. I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.